has run a story regarding the leadership in the Democratic Party, especially Nancy Pelosi, who did a pretty awful job in protecting incumbent Democrats who were up for re-election. So let me give you the details on what two centrists who spoke to the Hill on condition of anonymity had to say. Stung by their party's disappointing showing at the polls Tuesday, two moderate House Democrats say they and other centrists are privately discussing a plan that was unthinkable just 24 hours earlier, throwing their support behind a challenger to Nancy Pelosi.
Ooh, unthinkable.
So why? Now, I mean, I've already kind of given it away, but first off, in the Senate, there was some hope that Democrats would take control, and of course they have not. Susan Collins got reelected.
Susan
Collins got reelected, but okay.
Okay, Anna, can I just say?
Susan Collins.
Susan Collins got reelected. Okay. By 8 points in Maine. Total, utter failure. By the way, the moderate Democrats, Sarah Gideon against Susan Collins, Amy McGrath against Mitch McConnell, who I think lost by 22 points or something along those lines, just crushed. And Jamie Harrison, who is the least offensive of all of them, and we wish he'd beaten Lindsey Graham, but he didn't. But those three spent $300 million of your money and got crushed. So how about, can we just once in a prominent race that has a lot of media attention, can we try a progressive candidate once? No way, we got this figured out. Corporate Democrats are the way to go. You bring in lobbyists and you do, oh, for God's sake. You notice what Anna said. They're gonna try to challenge Nancy Pelosi from the right.
So let me give you those details.
Oy.
So, well, some details that I do want to get to. To Cenk's point, Jamie Harrison raised $108.9 million to beat Lindsey Graham. He did not win, of course. In Kentucky, Amy McGrath, who was like Republican light for sure, raised $90 million, did not beat Mitch McConnell. In Maine, Sarah Gideon raised $69.5 million and lost to Susan Collins. And in Texas, Mary Hegar, who raised $24 million, lost to Senator John Cornyn. Now, who else lost yesterday? These are people who are challenging Republicans, but there were a number of Democratic incumbents who lost as well. For instance, Senator Doug Jones in Alabama lost. Representative Debbie Mucarsel Powell in Florida lost. Representative Donna Shalala lost in Florida.
Oh my God.
Representative Abby Finkour lost in Iowa. Representative Colin.
Do you remember? Sorry, I'm interrupting you, Anna, but she was part of the kick-ass coalition that CNN made up. And she was one of the ass kickers that said, let's kick some ass by agreeing with the Republicans. How'd that work out, Abby?
She got her ass kicked right out of the House of Representatives.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
See you later.
Oh, by the way, did any of the Just Democrats lose, the incumbents? Nope, none of them, zero. They all won easily, super easily. Funny.
Representative Colin Peterson in Minnesota lost. Representative Kendra Horn in Oklahoma lost. Representative Torres Small in New Mexico lost. And finally, Representative Joe Cunningham in South Carolina also lost. Now let's talk about who Democrats are floating to replace Nancy Pelosi, since she has been a pretty disastrous leader. So two Democrats told The Hill on Wednesday that they're reaching out to their colleagues about backing one of Pelosi's top lieutenants, House Democratic Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker. But like, are you guys shocked though?
What a joke.
Because they don't learn anything. They don't, I think that's really at the heart of what's enraging me today. Because there were no lessons learned in 2016, we know that. And there certainly have been no lessons learned in 2020. I mean, to say, oh, Nancy Pelosi, she really failed. So let's find someone further to the right of her to replace her. I mean, he is to the right of Nancy Pelosi on most issues, very much against Medicare for all, was gloating about Bernie Sanders not being the Democratic nominee. He's very pro-Israel government, refuses to ever criticize anything the government of Israel does. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So of course they would float a name like that. And of course he's saying like, no, I don't even want to talk about anything like that. I'm not even considering it.
Oh no, of course not. No,
we'll see.
He's aghast by the suggestion, but please write it. Okay, put it in the headline, okay? Let me clarify a bunch of things. So first of all, remember Hakeem Jeffries is theoretically a Democrat, supporting the government of Israel currently is, and for a long time, run by Bibi Netanyahu, the equivalent of Dick Cheney or Donald Trump in Israel. Why would a Democrat support one of the most right-wing governments in the world? I don't, okay. Hakeem Jeffries is one of the guys who attacked Justice Democrats. He's the guy they send out to attack any progressive. And the thesis behind this is, okay, fine, he's a corporate Democrat too. But let's keep it real. Let's keep it real about their strategy. But he's an African-American corporate Democrat. Ooh, that makes me feel so much better. I don't care. Your identity politics didn't work in this election. They almost never work. The fact that you can get someone who is a minority to tell us how great corporations are doesn't help you at all. And so I'm from a Muslim background. If you got some Muslim to come out here and go, no, but Jake, you don't understand. The bankers are just so awesome. They should be your friend. What do I care? What do I care that he's Muslim? What do you care that he's black if he doesn't actually stand up for actual voters, the voters in his district and throughout the country? No, so they're a giant joke. Let me give you a sense of the brilliant corporate Democrats and their moderate strategies. Of course, they back Colin Peterson because he's an incumbent Democrat in Minnesota. Colin Peterson voted against impeachment and opposes abortion rights. He's anti-choice, Colin Peterson. But hey, we got to win that district. We got to win it. Guess what happened? He lost. He lost last night. But what happened? I thought your genius idea was to run Republicans posing as Democrats and then they would win. Well, it turns out they didn't even win. So Cheri Bustos was the head of the D-CCC. That's the group in charge of winning seats in the House. And her genius idea was mercilessly attack progressives, blacklist any company or organization that works with any challenger to an incumbent Democrat, except, by the way, Nancy Pelosi, who worked with a primary challenger against an incumbent Democrat. But who cares? We're corporate Democrats, will just cheat and there'll be no consequences. Well, Cheri Bustos, how many of those elections did you win? Almost none. You got your way. You got massively conservative Democrats running in all those elections, and you lost all of them. So, by the way, you want to know which election has not been called? Cheri Bustos' own election. She hasn't won re-election yet.
Good. Hopefully she doesn't.
And you know what their solution is going to be to Cheri Bustos? She was like the third most right-wing Democrat. What if we went with the second most right-wing Democrat to run our failing operation? So, because as we've said 1,000 times on the Young Turks, they don't have the same objective as us. We look at it as, well, why don't we want to pick up more Democratic seats so we can get legislation passed that we all agree on?
There's really no difference if these are the Democrats that are in office. There really is no difference.
Yeah, that's not their objective at all. Their objective is, how can I make my donors happy so I can keep my power? And they think the only way to keep their power is money, 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 money. And so they have discriminated against progressives, and it's a failing, losing strategy. And this is pretty much the only place you'll see it. Everyone else in the mainstream media will still call, they'll forget instant amnesia. They'll forget all about this. They'll call Nancy Pelosi a master legislator, and they'll think the only thing that's a legitimate challenge to Nancy Pelosi is from the right wing. That makes no logical sense, but they don't have to make sense because they're doing propaganda. They're not doing the news. So you know what should happen? A real serious challenge to Nancy Pelosi from the left. I don't know why we wouldn't challenge her from the left. And by the way, I got to tell you, the progressives in Congress, you gonna do something or are you gonna sit there all day long? Keeping it real. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges, You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.